Hey, you're listening to Don't Lie to Your Life Coach podcast with Kim Arrington. I'm Kim Arrington. I'm a life coach, a weight loss coach, an author, and a badass passionate about helping you connect back to your most authentic self. Join me here each week so I can coach you on how to think all those juicy thoughts that get you feeling your absolute best and taking some big ass action. Coaching has changed my life, and it can change your life too. I'm here to give you real life solutions to create a life you'll love. Because the truth is, boo, you ain't just got problems, you got options. Hey, y'all. I have a powerful question for you today. What controls you? What controls you? This podcast is for you if you find yourself feeling stuck about the same things, you're ruminating, your thoughts are running your life. Y'all, in 2025, we are talking about emotional mastery. And one of the biggest ways we're going to do that is we are going to stop your rumination. I'm going to share all types of studies and psychological perspectives that talk about how rumination is leading to cognitive decline and just making your life feel shitty, okay? Shitty in the city. So this podcast is for you if you're always talking about one specific issue, mainly your job, your relationship, your weight. And if you feel like you're not getting anywhere, this podcast is for you if you're caught up in your habits or routines that don't serve you, but you don't know what to do to make it stop. You need help. Hello, that's what coaches are for. This podcast is for you if you feel like social media or work stress or other people's opinions, what your mama think, are controlling your decisions. This podcast is for you if you're ready to take back control of your mind, your conversations, and your life, because I'm going to tell you, and this is something that I started a couple of months ago. I have this podcast that I talked about. Everybody talks about everybody, right? Well, my new life philosophy is not talking about people simplifies your life. I have put myself in a position where at least 90% of the time, do not talk about people. When people are talking about other people, I'll just be like, yeah, I don't talk about people. Occasionally, I say a thing. I say a truth if I need to. If there's oppression involved, I say it. I don't stay on it. But I have decided after a very painful experience where I found out someone I loved was talking about me, I was like, you know what? I was already thinking about I didn't want to talk about people. And this is like, I don't want to talk about people. So one of the things I say when people bring things up is I'm like, and this is like helping with your rumination, because generally you're talking about a somebody or a something, right? A job, a relationship, something that's causing you stress when you're re-traumatizing yourself all the time, telling everybody about it, causing you stress. What I want you to think about is how your life could be different if you let go of what controls you, because what you talk about the most is what controls you. If you talk about joy and love and excitement, then that controls you in a positive way. But if you're talking about how terrible things are, if you're an Eeyore, then that controls you. And that is one of the easiest things to change. I tell my clients all the time, your identity is what you talk about all the time. And for me, with that, I don't talk about people. Here's on the flip side. I often excuse myself from conversations if the talk about people is getting to be more than my nervous system wants to handle. It doesn't mean I police my friends. I'm here. We can talk about things. But if our conversations are constant ruminations, I can't do that anymore. And my relationships are sacred. So when someone asks me about someone I'm in a relationship with, I'll say, My relationships are sacred. I don't really talk about them. I'll give how's a person doing? Great. But if it dips too much into things, 99% of the time I'm like, yeah, I don't talk about my relationship. This is where, y'all, the celebrities are like, I don't talk about my relationships in interviews. There's a reason for that. Okay. So, and here's the caveat I build in about not talking about things with everybody and not ruminating and what controls you is if something is really bothering you, you go to a helping professional who is programmed and will program you to be able to look at it in a different way and to come up with a solution. Our friends get mad and they want to protect us and they want us to hurry up and not feel bad because it makes them feel anxious, and they love us but they put themselves in our shoes and like, what would happen if that was me? That is not what a helping professional does. A helping professional, like myself as a coach, is able to be objective enough to offer solutions and to help move you through a process for you to be able to get over the thing. So, what controls you? Does Amazon control you? Does your Amazon cart control you? What they say, a hit dog gonna yell? Does your mom and what happened in the past control you? Does 5011 ex-boyfriends 90,000 years ago and you don't date no more, does that control you? I should say what you avoid controls you too. What you avoid, what you don't let yourself do, what you say you'll never do again, that can control you too. Sometimes the very thing you're avoiding is what you need to do. And I talked about Mark Manson in an episode, his book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. What I love about his book is that he literally is like, we believe ourselves, we believe our beliefs. And I work with people enough to know you cannot believe what comes out your mouth and what you think over and over. What you think over and over could have been programmed when you were 4 and now you're 64. 60 years ago, and you believe it because it sounds credible. You are not a credible source all the time. And this is what frustrates me about Instagram, okay? If he wanted to, he would. Well, who cares what he wants to do or what he would do? What do you want to do? And then what he wanted to, he would might come looking for you because you're not ruminating about him. Sometimes the people in our lives treat us a certain way because they don't understand why they have such big importance in our lives. I think that paradigm is very, very strong in male female relationships. I can't talk about any other relationships. So I'm limited in that perspective, okay? But I think often what happens is this: you meet this man and he is into you. And then, depending on your attachment style, I'll put some links in the show notes about that. You get freaked out and I mean, he's great and you don't want anything bad to happen. And then you start mothering him or you start smothering him or and the dynamic changes from him feeling like you are this dynamic, amazing woman who has her own life and ain't thinking that much about him. And he's kind of like hunting you, to this dynamic where you're now hunting him and you're after him and you're doing all these things. And he's like, what happened to that woman? I know. I can tell y'all for sure. The last guy I dated was that way. He was enthralled by me. He couldn't get over me. And before long, when I figured out I liked him, I turned the tables, became obsessed, and not clinically obsessed, but thinking about how I could do this and what did this mean when he said this, and what I don't do that no more. If you're doing that, it controls you. And you want to know what you need to do next. I want to help you. Okay. First thing you need to do is have some awareness. And one of the things I have my clients do is tune in. Tune into the conversations for the next few days. You can even make hash marks on a piece of paper. Boy, I sure am talking about Mark a lot. Boy, I sure am talking about the new girl at the job who I'm jealous about because my boss is enthralled with her. Boy, I sure am being kind of mean to my mom because I didn't feel loved. I want you to think about, I want you to put some awareness on what you're talking about. And I want you to choose one thing. We are not going to choose every single thing. That's one of the things you all do that slows you down. You go on the self-development journey and you figure out, like, there's some things I want to change. And then you try to change seven things at a time. No, we're going to do one. We're going to do one. And then when we master what to do with that one, we can then go through all the things, okay? So I want you to choose one thing that you hear you're talking about. And then I want you to think about what would your life be like if that thing were to go the way you wanted it to go. So let's use an example of work. I'm going to link my work podcast in here. Y'all, let me go ahead and what did I say? I was going to link some podcasts, the work podcast. I don't remember what else I said I was going to link, but I'll just listen back to this and your links will be there. Oh, I was going to link Mark's book. You're at work and something has gone wrong. You and your boss got into it and you can't get over it because your boss said some things, you said some things, and immediately your fear is activated. I'm going to get fired. Now, your boss ain't thinking like this. Your boss is like, we had a heated exchange. I'm used to supervising people. That happens. But your boss doesn't have the capacity to come back and kind of make it better for you. So now you're pissed because you're like, my boss doesn't like me, which probably isn't completely true. And also, like, why does that matter? If you really like yourself, then everybody gets that perspective of you liking yourself, and they can choose to agree or disagree with it. But, you don't need to be liked by everybody. It feels comfortable, it feels great. But I feel I'd rather be respected. Okay. Like if someone doesn't like me, and I can think of some people who, they're not quite my type of people, but I have respect for them, right? Like what they do, what they have. Like, anyway, yes, it feels more comfortable to be liked, but let's just say you've now decided your boss doesn't like you. Your boss ain't thinking about you because your boss is, you know, got this promotion to be your boss and is also caretaking their 80-year-old mother who just had knee surgery. So your boss is divided because thinking about what mom needs at home and didn't have the patience to have this civil conversation with you. You've decided your boss doesn't like you. You've decided that you're going to get fired. I used to work with a woman like this. Every time she was like perpetually nervous, she was going to get fired. I wanted to coach her to go back into her history to figure out where that feeling came from because she either saw someone get fired, she either had this experience of eggshells. It's either good girl, I could go on and on. Anyway, I didn't. I minded my damn business because that's what I've had to learn as a coach. Mind your damn business. You now have this thing where everything that happens is now through this lens of my boss doesn't like me. And now you started talking to all your friends, and every moment they're actually rolling their eyes because, damn, this bitch talks about her boss not liking her one more damn time. And it becomes a habit because anything you repeat becomes a habit. Do you understand? That's how you know something controls you, is that you're constantly talking about the thing that controls you. So, what is the cure? I tell you all the time the solutions and the problem. If I am constantly talking about the thing, then I need to change how I feel about it. So the first thing, if you came to me and your client, my boss doesn't like you, I'd be like, give me evidence. I would shoot down most of your evidence. Okay. Then I'd say, well, what does this remind you from in your childhood or your past? You give me some things. And I remind your brain, this is not that. I remind your brain, you're not 8. You're 48, okay? And then I would be like, I want for you to try some things. We're going to do some experimentation. First experiment is I'm going to decide that every time I feel like my boss doesn't like me, I'm going to think another thought. That's why I give you these affirmations in these episodes for you to like kind of, I don't want to get into you reprogramming your brain. That sounds like you're a fucking computer. No, I don't, not saying that. I want you to get into this idea that what I say to myself matters, and I'm just gonna put some contrary thoughts out there. Like, you know what? I remember the time when my boss did this. I remember us laughing. She mentioned that she's caretaking her mother in the big meeting, and she didn't say, "Oh, can you give me some grace on that?" She was just like, "Yeah, this has been a lot." That's her way of saying, "Look, can you give me some grace?" So I'm gonna say, "Can you stop saying your boss doesn't like you? Can you?" And then I'm gonna be like, let's talk about you being fired. You got fired from this job all these years ago, or you saw your mama get fired. What evidence did you get a write up? Did HR call you? Were you pulled into a meeting? That's the kind of stuff you got to do it yourself. And it's easier to do it with a coach. It is. It is. Because I don't have the same emotional response to regular things. And I've done this for so long, I know the triggers. So then we're going to come up with, once you kind of get that emotional mastery, that's the word that's our two words for next year, emotional mastery. Okay. You stop ruminating over it. Then I'm going to say to you, hey, like, do you want to invite your boss to lunch? Do you want to have a conversation? And I'm going to help you with your conversation. Your conversation can go a little something like this. Hit it, where you're like, hey, we had this intense exchange. I definitely feel like I could have done this differently. We're not going to even call out what your boss did. I could have done this differently. I'd like to think through this, and this is what I can do different. And I appreciate you. And then your boss immediately is like, oh my God, Sarah, that was not my best day. My mother had just called me. I was snappy. You're doing an amazing job. I need to tell you that more. I'd love to go to lunch. I'd love to. Do you see? Then you walk out feeling like $1 billion because you're not getting fired. Your boss doesn't hate you. You're not a good girl who can't make any mistakes. You can make missteps and you can do something about it. Some of y'all need to do less to get more. That means less thinking about all the things. Some of y'all need to stop spending so much money that you don't got. I had to do that for myself. That is a plane ticket to somewhere great. Sometimes when you realize what controls you, you can alter your behavior to decide what you want more. I keep a list on my phone of things I want. My incentive for doing these podcasts is I'm going to order some moccasin boots. My last moccasin boots I had for a few years, they needed to be put out to pasture. I put them out to pasture. I want some now. Okay. But I haven't been eating out a ton and I decided what I want more. So once I buy the moccasin boots, I kind of put my little card on ice. Your solution is you need to find your dopamine other ways. You guys sometimes get dopamine from complaining. You get dopamine from doing it anyway when you know you shouldn't. I've been there. I'm telling you that once you identify, you kind of sift through what controls you, you have the awareness, and then you figure out what it is, you choose one, and you work to alter that, not worry more about it. Worry is, it's going to come up. But you can't trust that brain that says, oh, well, I need to be on high alert or else. This is why it's easier to do this with a person who doesn't have the same story. I'm going to close this episode out with one of my friends, speaking of job, had a really difficult situation with I don't want to give it away. And she got to a part in the process and she was dismissed. And my friend was on the phone with me ruminating about relationships. And I said to her, look, damn it. You are focused on all these relationships because you are not focused on the relationship with yourself and what it is you really want. And I am sick of hearing you talk about this way this thing went down. Like, you need to figure out what you want. she came back the same night and was like, I want to go for this again. I've been so proud of her. I just like, I told her the day, I've never been more proud of you. Not because you got the yes you wanted, but because of you became the person. You did all these things for you. You prioritized yourself and you stopped fucking complaining about everything else in your life. Her story of what didn't happen doesn't control her anymore. Do you see it, y'all? Do you see it, y'all? You have to do the thing you think, like, what's the Eleanor Roosevelt quote? You must do the thing you think you cannot do, except break the law. This is not what we're talking about. We're talking about positive things. I want you to think about how can you escape your loop? How can you let go of what controls you? I think every single episode I do is about this, whether it's weight loss, whether it's money, whether it's relationships. It's all about giving yourself enough freedom to be so deep in your own enjoyment that everything else is secondary. And that's okay for everything else to be secondary. There are moments where you'll turn and you'll, focus on this, but you still have to be in yourself. You still have to have relationship with yourself. The last thing I want to close with is you can break free from this. You're going to stop talking about it all the time. You're going to think about some solutions instead of the problem. You're going to hear yourself ruminate about it, and you're going to stop doing that. You're going to add some positive energy over top of it. You're going to do more fun things for yourself. You're going to realize I was wrong. I love being wrong, y'all. Quick to apologize, quick to say I was wrong, was not always like that. Okay. So, and you're going to realize that you can change, anything can change. You can step out the fear pattern and you can let whatever's controlling you be something positive. I am controlled by my daily walks. I'm controlled by, pulling out my book and reading for 15 minutes every night. I am controlled by letting these people around here clean the house. I'm controlled by, you see what I'm saying? So I want to leave you with an affirmation like I always do. Control is all about how you decide to wield your personal power. And so when you call your power back to yourself, when you decide that you can wield your power in ways that you really want to, the complaining actually stops, the ruminating actually stops. So I easily call my power back to myself, or I easily call my power back to me in every situation. These are magic words. Like, it makes you start looking at how you're spending your power, not your damn Amazon cart. Jeez, y'all on Amazon. Ooh, y'all love to make Jeffy rich. I do not make Jeff rich. I do not use Amazon hardly ever, okay? That is something, I never was a big Amazon girl, but I was a $9.99 dress girl. And one of my friends one day was like, if you keep buying $9.99 dresses all the time, you spend $100. Yes, in fact, you are correct. All right, so I call my power back to myself. I don't let something control me. I am the person in control. Yay. All right, so I will see y'all next week. Hop on, share this with somebody, and listen to another podcast, all right? Love you, mean it. Have a good one.
Are you feeling what you just heard? Good, good. Repeat after me. You don't have to figure it out on your own again anymore. I'm here to help. Head over to KimArrington.com and download my free video series dedicated to getting you feeling your best right now. Look around, there's some good stuff waiting on you. Got questions? Well, we're always talking on the socials, so find me on YouTube, Insta, and the book. Don't be shy, y'all. Go listen to another episode or join me here the same time next week. Finally, don't keep good shit to yourself. Share this with a homie that could use some help too. Remember, we're not lying to ourselves anymore. We're not lying to our doctors. And you damn sure don't lie to your life coach.